our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas. We don't want them. In the 21st century, we've seen one terror attack after another carried out by foreign visa overstayers from dangerous places all over the world. And thanks to Biden's open door policies, today there are millions and millions of these illegals who should not be in our country. In my first term, my powerful travel restrictions were one of our most successful policies, and they were a key part of preventing major foreign terror attacks on American soil. We will not let what happened in Europe happen to America.
What if I told you that one of the most polarizing US presidents in modern history indirectly pushed Jamaica to rethink its foreign policy, sharpen its trade defenses, and even question its place in the world order? Donald Trump's presidency wasn't just a storm for America. It sent political tremors rippling through the Caribbean Sea, reaching as far as Jamaica's parliament, immigration offices, and university lecture halls. So what really happened between Jamaica and Trump? And how has the island responded to America's increasingly unpredictable empire? Stay with me, because this story reveals not just Jamaica's resilience, but its awakening. Trump's foreign policy doctrine, America First, was a seismic shift from traditional US diplomacy. It favored unilateralism over alliances, protectionism over cooperation, and for Caribbean nations like Jamaica, that signaled danger. Jamaica, historically a close partner of the US, found itself navigating a new era of transactional diplomacy. Ambassador Wayne McCook and others within Jamaica's foreign service began sounding the alarm early. Trump's policies were likely to isolate Caribbean voices on the world stage. For the first time in decades, Jamaica had to walk a tightrope, maintaining ties with the US while strengthening its regional alliances through CARICOM, and quietly opening the door to deeper engagement with China, Russia, and even African Union members. And it wasn't just about trade, it was about survival in an increasingly unstable global order. Trump's hardline immigration stance hit the Jamaican diaspora, especially those in Florida, New York, and Atlanta, like a cold front. His administration rolled out policy after policy aimed at reducing immigration from what he controversially called shithole countries, a term many believe targeted black majority nations like Haiti and Jamaica. Thousands of Jamaicans, both documented and undocumented, suddenly felt vulnerable. DACA recipients of Jamaican descent were left in legal limbo. The end of temporary protected status, TPS, for Haitians raised fears that Jamaicans could be next. By 2018, reports emerged of ICE raids in neighborhoods with strong Caribbean populations. Deportation flights to Jamaica increased, with some cases involving individuals who had lived in the US for decades and had no ties left on the island. Even birthright citizenship, a constitutional guarantee, was attacked by Trump, prompting Jamaican immigration attorneys and advocates to organize Know Your Rights campaigns in cities like Miami and Brooklyn. These weren't just policy shifts. They were personal. Families were torn apart, dreams deferred, and the so-called American dream now felt like a nightmare for many Jamaicans. Under Trump, US trade policy took a dramatic nationalist turn. He imposed tariffs not just on China and the EU, but also on some Caribbean goods under the guise of national security. Jamaican rum, coffee, seafood, and even aluminum products were affected by these new barriers. These are not minor industries. Jamaica's economy depends heavily on trade with the US, its largest export market, accounting for over 60% of outbound goods. Trump also slashed foreign aid programs, including key USAID projects focused on youth employment, agriculture, and climate resilience in Jamaica. But perhaps most concerning was the indirect impact. Trump's global trade war with China and others caused supply chain chaos and price spikes, which filtered down into Jamaican grocery stores and fuel stations. Everyday Jamaicans were paying more for essentials, and the government had to rethink its trade diversification strategy. Suddenly, expanding trade with Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East wasn't just idealistic, it was necessary. In the land of Bob Marley and Muta Baruka, political commentary isn't just a newspaper thing. It's music, art, and street talk. Trump's actions didn't go unnoticed in Jamaica's cultural spaces. Reggae and dancehall artists like Chronix and Buju Banton made veiled critiques in their lyrics, while talk show hosts on IRE FM and CVM TV dissected Trump's policies weekly. Jamaican public opinion was deeply divided. Some admired Trump's no-nonsense, anti-establishment rhetoric, comparing it to the boldness of Caribbean political leaders like Michael Manley or Fidel Castro. Others, especially in the academic and activist communities, warned that Trump's rhetoric mirrored colonial tactics of fear, division, and economic domination. A 2024 Caribbean Development Research Services (CARDES) poll found that most Jamaicans had a negative view of Trump, especially among younger voters. But interestingly, some business elites praised his deregulation agenda and stance on China, arguing it opened new opportunities for Jamaica to fill trade gaps. What's clear is that Trump sparked a national conversation about power, identity, and Jamaica's role in a changing world. Perhaps Trump's biggest legacy in Jamaica isn't what he did directly, but what he forced Jamaica to confront. The island's ambitions to become a global logistics hub, especially via the Kingston Freeport Terminal and the North-South Highway built by China Harbor Engineering, now had to be weighed against growing US-China tensions. Trump's obsession with controlling shipping lanes and targeting Chinese infrastructure raised red flags. Would aligning too closely with China provoke US retaliation? The government began pivoting, cautiously, by building ties with Africa, joining new trade blocs, and pushing for climate funding from the EU instead of relying solely on Washington. Jamaica also re-evaluated its education and tech sectors, launching coding academies, renewable energy projects, and fintech regulations, prepare for a future where dependence on US markets is no longer guaranteed. In many ways, Trump's presidency became a stress test for Jamaica's global strategy. And while the island may not have passed with flying colors, it learned to play the long game. Donald Trump may have ruled from the White House, but his shadow stretched all the way to halfway tree. His presidency forced Jamaica to adapt, to question, and to evolve. From migration and trade to diplomacy and culture, the Trump era left a complicated but undeniable mark. And yet, like we always do, Jamaicans stood firm. We adapted. We found new paths. Because that's who we are, a people born of struggle, molded by resistance, and destined for leadership. So what do you think? Did Donald Trump help push Jamaica to become more independent? Or did his policies deepen the inequalities we've been fighting for decades? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you believe in Caribbean voices telling Caribbean stories, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Thanks for watching. Until next time.